Hello and welcome to yet another review video. Today we are going to be looking at the EoFauna Giganotosaurus. This is a model that is definitely fairly highly anticipated among some of my viewers. I have gotten a handful of requests since I got this figure to review it, and I have been planning on reviewing it for a while. We're finally getting to it. So here we are. I've had this figure for like a year or something, so it's been a while, but here it is, and let's talk about it. So this figure has quite a bit of hype around it, quite a high, it's considered highly by most collectors, and for good reason, because it's really well made and it has a lot going for it as a model. The first big positive point for the EoFauna Giganotosaurus is the scientific accuracy and all of the anatomical work that's been put into the model. This is nearly a flawless Giganotosaurus figure in terms of anatomical accuracy. Both skeletal and muscular, integument, everything is pretty much done like without any obvious problems. There are some minor nitpicks that people have brought up, but I'm not even really going to bother to discuss them because I think the best way to talk about the accuracy for sake of just a concise quick review is just to say it's basically perfect, and that's probably all that matters for you if you're planning on maybe getting this and you're not sure. That's the main point. Obviously, the major things like proportions and the shape and structure of the skull are really well done. But like I said, it's not just the more like skeletal anatomy-based stuff that I think is really good, it's also the muscular anatomy. I feel like musculature is something that's often overlooked by sculptors. It's somewhat easy to like phone in, because you can just sort of make things generally the shape of a dinosaur and say, look, muscles. But on this figure, there's a lot of nice, like, subtle indications in the sculpt of individual specific muscles, of certain muscles being stretched or flexed and such. It looks just great, and a lot of the integument on the figure, the way the skin has been rendered, it really helps kind of bring that out. Like this leg is a great example with all these bits of like stretching kind of looser skin underneath the thigh. That looks great. And then on the other leg, you can see that the thigh is a bit wider, and there's a bit more of an indent down the middle, indicating two sort of separate bulges of muscle here and here. That's great. These very bulky muscular calves. And then you can see the thinner ankle going down to that bird-like foot. It's just great. It's pretty fantastic. There's a lot of nice wrinkles and bits of skin around the neck. I will say that the detail on this figure is one potential complaint, that I know some people really don't like the detail because there's not much detail on the model, actually. It's pretty smooth and pretty basic. There are, I'm sure you can see on the camera, some scalation. There is some scalation. There are certain little areas where you can see little faint round reticula coming through, but they're somewhat faint, somewhat muddled, and there are some areas that are legitimately, like, basically smooth. The head is one area in particular that just looks really, really smooth for the most part, but I don't know. I don't really mind it. EoFauna has proven with the Atlasaurus that they can do much better scaly skin than this, but even considering that, this doesn't really bother me. And I like the simplistic, elegant, smooth kind of appearance it has for the most part. And there's also some specific little details that are done really well, like the eyes. The eyes appear to be decals, and I have to say, if decals are what it takes to put precise eyes on a figure without any smudging, without the pupil looking some weird direction, just use decals, because they look great. They look really lifelike. They're not, you know, goofy or derpy really in any way. It looks great. Just do decals, people. I'm pretty sure these are decals. It'd be funny if I'm wrong and these are actually just painted really well, but I kind of doubt that. The interior of the mouth is another potential complaint. It is violently red, and I don't know why. It's definitely a little bit of a weird choice. The teeth are partially obscured by lips, and it does make them look a little short, a little nub-like, but I actually like that, to be honest. I think it looks especially good when the mouth is closed. The only real, like, proper complaints I have for this figure on, like, a personal level, like things that actually bother me, are unfortunately kinda major, at least from my perspective. For one, the jaw doesn't really work great on my figure. It's pretty stiff, and as well, you can see when it closes, it really wants to go off to this side a little bit. It's kind of crooked, and it's unfortunate. I can sort of push it into position to get it more aligned with the skull, but it definitely feels like it wasn't, like, attached quite correctly. The other big thing is, right now, this figure is standing up perfectly fine, right? It's not going to fall over, but it definitely will fall over depending on the angle and the surface. I can tell just turning it around, the subtle slope of my desk, however minute, is affecting it, making it a little more wobbly this way than this way. And some people say that they can't get theirs to stand at all. And when I first got mine, it couldn't stand at all. I had to warp it under hot water, and I still have to warp it and bend its foot occasionally to keep it standing. So, if stability is a big deal for you, this might not be the best Giganotosaurus figure. Perhaps a better one would be the Safari one, which is very similar but much more stable because it's on a base. So anyhow, I'm going to bring in our size comparisons since I'm kind of wrapping up here. The final note I have about the EoFauna Giganotosaurus is just in reference to the color scheme. The color scheme is another thing that some people complain about because it's pretty basic. It's just a lot of brown and brown mostly. And there are some goofy parts. I'm going to move the Papoallosaurus out of the way. You can see on the face in particular, some of these patterns look very like cartoonish and painted on. They're not the most believable patterns for an animal to have. And so I can definitely see how some people would not be a big fan of that. They're also very asymmetric. It's like completely different on the other side of the face. But the overall just color palette, however simple, I really enjoy. And in particular, the subtle wash of darker brown over the underside, I think really does wonders for bringing out some of the detail on the sculpt, and it just looks nice. So yeah, overall, that is my take on the EoFauna Giganotosaurus. Is the hype worth it? Yeah, it's a flawed figure in my opinion, not EoFauna's best by any means. Probably my least favorite from the range that I have so far, although I do not have them all. I'm going to be giving this one a 9.5 out of 10, because it is still really, really good. But I do think that EoFauna can do better, and I think they've proven that they can do better with their more recent dinosaur figure, the incredible Atlasaurus, and I will be showing you all that next time, so tune in for the next review. It is my 100th review coming up, and the Atlasaurus is very special to be featured in that review because it is my favorite figure in my collection. So, real briefly, here's the card for the Giganotosaurus, since I forgot to show it earlier, and I will see you all on the flippity-floppin' whatever.